Hey, what's up, guys? We're back for another week of predictions. This week it's for UFC Sydney card, but first I want to go back and talk about last week real quick. We went 10-3 on that event, so we did pretty good on that. I actually made some pretty good money off that card, so I actually thought it was a great card too. I mean, especially for FS1, they had Clay Guida getting that early knockout. Nina Ansaroff got that good win against Angela Hill. That was a great fight, in my opinion. Angela Hill showed a lot of heart in that fight. Jake Collier got a win against Marcel Fortuna. He looked pretty good. Fortuna looked real bad in that fight, in my opinion. He gassed out, and he just didn't look like he was, throwing as much as he should have and as much as he did in his other fights, or as good on the feet. But so he lost. Sean Strickland got a good win against Court McGee. That was kind of a weird situation with them first calling it a draw and then having to go back and change it. But, I thought the right guy won, so it was good to see him get the win. And then what else happened on there? Diego Sanchez getting, decapacitated. That was really hard to watch, man. And then I'm seeing that he's saying that he's not done yet. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, at some point, you think someone has to go in and start talking to these guys and tell them, man, like, this isn't gonna end good for you. But if Diego wants to keep going, I just hope that maybe they could give him a real low-level guy, someone that's not gonna knock him out like he has been in the last two fights. But who knows? But then, another guy that people might be saying to retire before this was Andrei Arlovsky, and he came out and had a solid performance against Junior Albini after losing 5 straight. He looked pretty crisp with his striking, but Albini just had a terrible performance. I think the best part about Albini's performance was his diaper, so. But let's get on to the card for UFC Sydney. The first fight is Tai Tuivasa against Rashad Coulter. And, this is kind of an interesting fight. This is kind of a hard fight to gauge, but Tuivasa's a Samoan. He's the main training partner for Mark Hunt. So, all those guys usually have, great power and great chin. So, that one thing that Tuivasa has shown is that he does have great power, and he's pretty athletic for being so big. Early on, he did show, like, some pretty explosive movements. He looked fast. He had this really brutal step-in elbow that just knocked this guy out unconscious. And, he showed he definitely has some power, and in that first round, especially those first 2 minutes, I mean, he's extremely dangerous. And then, Rashad Coulter, he debuted earlier this year against Chase Sherman, who's another heavyweight. He's starting to get some momentum going. He won another fight again after Rashad, but he came in short notice in that fight, and he was gassing out a little bit, but he showed a lot of heart in that fight. He didn't go down. And he had to get put down, he had to get knocked out, and he got his front leg just brutalized, and he was still in there swinging, man. He was still, giving it his all. So that was a pretty good performance by Rashad. I can't knock him for that. He's primarily a boxer. He actually has like a professional boxing record, and he was boxing recently. Actually, he has some recent professional boxing fights. So, that's going to be his thing, and I think that Tuivasa, when he was fighting James McSweeney, man, he just showed some terrible cardio and some terrible grappling, man. He was shooting these takedowns when he was already on the ground, and he just was very sloppy. And after that, after about the 4 minute mark of that first round, he was completely gassed. And McSweeney kind of just gave up in that fight. After the first round, I was intrigued to see, what was going to happen. Was Tuivasa going to get a second wind, or was he going to, roll over? Because he was legitimately, he was gassed at the point where you see them heavy legs walk into the stool. He could barely walk after that first round. And so it was interesting, but James McSweeney said he couldn't see in the end of the fight, so it was a doctor stoppage after the first round, TKO. And he hasn't fought since then for about a year and a month. Something like that, so he's coming back after a while, but he is from Australia, and he is, pretty famous over there already. I saw that he got a pretty good pop in his last fight, so, I'm going to suspect that, he's been working, he works with Mark Hunt, all that, and Coulter's 35 years old, he's older, he's just predominantly a boxer, and I don't think that he has the cardio, the athleticism of Tai Tuivasa. So I just think in that first round, Tuivasa will be able to overwhelm Rashad and knock him out in that first round. But then again, if Coulter's able to survive that first round, and he showed he did have a pretty decent chin against Chase Sherman, even though Chase Sherman isn't near the puncher or power that Tuivasa has. But after that first round, it could get very interesting. At that point, I think Coulter will have more gas, and I think if it does get out of the first round, I think Coulter definitely will win. But I don't think he'll be able to get out of the first round. I think Tuivasa will dust him. So I'm going to go by first round knockout for Tai Tuivasa.